From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast, Monday, June 3rd, 2024. What a packed show we have for all of y'all today. In case you spend the weekend offline, which if you're a cybersecurity practitioner is rare, admit it, it's rare. I mean, I'm offline from Friday night to Saturday night, but that's kind of my own little thing. A lot happened over this weekend. I mean, a ton. News broke out on Friday, and that's typically the day a lot of publicly traded companies like to put out the news of them experiencing a data breach, hence the Snowflake news, although they've been running around in circles in Slack, X, and Discord and everywhere else. We now have got confirmation as to the extent of the Snowflake data breach that's impacting over 2,000 companies, essentially reaching the level of Progress's Move It data breach in terms of size, impact yet to be really understood. Outside of it being a lot of data, this could be the largest data breach in history of PII. So, and I say that not with a sense of pride or anything. I say that with a sense of just that's the truth, and whether you want it or not, that's the case. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Nudge Security. Snowflake being SaaS. If you're not using Nudge for SaaS, you'll hear about them a little bit later in the show, but you definitely want to check them out. They've got a free trial for all of our awesome listeners and community members, so go check that out there. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get the show going. Join me for a cup of coffee to power us through a lot of stories today, so buckle in, and then we're going to try and get it done in 15 minutes. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get started. So the Snowflake hack is having a ton of impact. Ticketmaster, as data came to light when a notorious group essentially claimed to have exfiltrated the information of 560 million of their users, but only asking for $500,000 for the data. In the SEC filing late last week, Ticketmaster's parent company, Live Nation Entertainment, confirmed unauthorized access to a third-party cloud database environment, mainly containing data from the online ticket sales platform. A criminal threat actor offered what is alleged to be a company user data for sale via the dark web. They're working to mitigate the risk for users and the company, and they're given the standard statement of, we're working with law enforcement, we're bringing in the best of the best. However, this is going through what appears to be an extremely significant breach here. So Snowflake, for those who don't know, essentially a cloud-based data storage platform. It's, if you don't want to store your data in an S3 bucket or an Azure SQL database, you will typically use Snowflake. Snowflake has a whole lot of cases, and some of these are even security-based, meaning instead of processing all of your SIM data through your SIM provider where you're paying a ton of money, you would use Snowflake as a way to filter through all of the logs and then forward the logs you deem to be critical to your SIM provider. I mean, the extent here is not just personal information, but I know of security practitioners that use that practice, others that use it for data scientists, for studying logs, for a whole lot of other reasons. So there's 2,000 victims here all in all so far that we know of, and I'm guessing that number will likely increase slightly as we get further into this environment. Some of these were demo accounts. Some of these were production and corporate accounts. The access was possible to the demo accounts because they were not behind an Okta or MFA data wall. However, unlike Snowflake's corporate or production systems, according to the company, however, they're warning of increased activities. Last week in a conversation with Hudson Rock, a threat actor that claimed responsibility for the Snowflake campaign, said they accessed data from organizations like Anheuser-Busch, Allstate, Advanced Auto Parts, Mitsubishi, Neiman Marcus, Progressive Insurance, Santander Bank, we'll get to them in a minute, as well as State Farm. Santander Bank disclosed unauthorized access to one of its databases hosted by a third-party provider in mid-May. We'll get to that here in just a few moments. The attackers also claimed to compromise of a Snowflake employee ServiceNow account, the bypass of any Okta protections that were in place, and the gaining of the ability to generate their own session tokens, which allowed them to steal a massive amount of data. This Hudson Rock post has now been deleted. The threat actor also provided Hudson Rock with a CSV file, containing data on more than 2,000 customer instances running on Snowflake's server, including information on Snowflake's employees infected with an info stealer back in October of last year. So Australia's Cybersecurity Center has announced that they're aware of a successful compromise of several companies using Snowflake environments in Australia. Researchers have also said while it tries to blame its customers for the activity of the threat actor, Snowflake too is responsible for this incident. It appears that this is going to be a joint catastrophic failure because these guys haven't stolen the data, revamped breach forums, the cybercrime marketplace that law enforcement was so happy to say, we took it down, we seized it 2 weeks ago, only to have it come right back up. Our ability to fight cybercrime is absolutely mind-boggling. It's like we don't understand who we're fighting and we're not willing to take the actions it takes to really defeat our enemies, but rather we'll slap him across the face, take him down, show some sense of victory, but then unable to really pull through to the very end. The decentralized nature of cybercrime makes it so that our law enforcement's efforts in terms of combating cybercrime is ineffective, simply because they're thinking there's a head to the snake. There isn't a head to the snake. There's multiple heads to the snake. They run decentralized from each other and requires a new approach to fighting cybercrime. Substack article, and that you can go and check that out. Earlier this week, ShinyHunters announced the relaunch of the cybercrime forum with a high-profile breach. They started with 560 million Ticketmaster users' information. The hackers also claimed that law enforcement made a fatal error in their takedown attempt that caused damage to a different business. ShinyHunters Group claims to be into possession of at least 1.3 terabytes of data stolen from Ticketmaster. According to threat intelligence and research group VX Underground, which analyzed a sample of the stolen data, the information appears to be authentic, containing entries dating back to 2011, with the most recent ones being dated to March of this year. Some entries are from the mid-2000s were found as well. VX Underground explains that ShinyHunters is not responsible for the Ticketmaster data breach, but rather they're acting as a proxy for the actual attackers. But if you're wondering who they are, they're also claiming that were the ones that also took information from Santander Bank, including 30 million customer information, employee bank account data, 2 weeks after the bank itself reported the breach. Now, here's the thing about this one. This impacts employees and customers in Chile, Spain, and Uruguay. So this isn't a global Santander, but rather very specific to these three countries, Chile, Spain, and Uruguay. They're selling that data for $2 million. And the reason it is because they've got 28 million credit card numbers as part of that data, 6 million account numbers with balances, as well as HR employee list, consumer citizenship information, and much more. It's a one-time sale, and they're also offering it to Santander if they want to buy the data as well for the lucrative price, really a steal, a Black Friday price of $2 million. As part of the sales listing, they've also included shared samples of the data containing the listed information that could not be confirmed as of yet. These sales were listed under the accounts of new members. However, ShinyHunters are the folks behind this one. They've been behind many other breaches as well. Wattpad, Tokopedia, Microsoft's GitHub account, Big Basket, Nitro PDF, Pixar, Teespring, Promo.com, and many more. And they finally stepped up into the big leagues. And there's that for all of y'all there as well. And now, if you know about SaaS security, you really care about it, here's a message from our friends over at Nudge Security, who, thanks to them, this episode is brought to all of y'all today. Check it out.
When your CEO asks, hey, are we using that SaaS app that was just breached? How quickly and confidently can you answer? Due to the sprawling nature of SaaS app adoption, it's hard to know who is using what and to understand the implications when a popular SaaS app is breached. To solve this, Nudge Security discovers and categorizes every account for every SaaS app ever created by anyone in your organization. And a full inventory of all SaaS accounts is available within minutes of starting a free trial. Not only will you know who's using what, but you can automate communications out to end users, called nudges of course, that remind them to enable MFA, shut down unused accounts, enroll apps in SSO, etc. And Nudge Security will notify you of breaches impacting your SaaS provider so you can take immediate action to mitigate the impact. Start a 14-day trial now at nudgesecurity.com/cyberhub.
All right, so go check out nudgesecurity.com/cyberhub. Try it, considering the fact that the Snowflake breach just happened. If you don't have a SaaS security tool, you can get a 14-day free trial thanks to our friends there. Go check that out. Let's continue with more, and we've got a whole lot more here. So AI tool development company Hugging Face informed customers on Friday it detected unauthorized access to its Spaces platform. According to the company, the unauthorized access to the platform may have exposed a subset of secrets. In response, it's revoked tokens present in the compromised secrets, and it has notified impacted users. They're recommending that you refresh any key or token and consider switching your HF tokens to fine-grained access tokens, which are the new default after this specific incident. Over the past few days, they've made significant improvements to the security of our Spaces infrastructure, including completely removing org tokens, resulting in increased traceability and audit capabilities, and implementing key management service for Spaces secrets, robusting and expanding our system's ability to identify leaked tokens and proactively invalidate them, and more generally, improving our security across the board. So all in all, you have that. NIST is starting to address the backlog of over 33,137 vulnerabilities that are sitting there due to a whole bunch of challenges with funding, staffing, and a whole lot more. To help clear the logjam, the agency rewarded a cybersecurity analysis and email support contract to Maryland-based Analogence for $865,657 to support the processing of incoming vulnerabilities for the NVD. According to usaspending.gov, they expect the work to start this week, and that's also confirmed by COO Tom Pettiler of the company. They'll be working through the existing backlog on a rolling basis, utilizing the NIST Common Platform enumeration process and in accordance with the Common Vulnerability Scoring System. So, all in all, hopefully we'll get some work done there as well. CISA added two new vulnerabilities to its KEV catalog. That's the known exploited vulnerabilities. One including a Linux kernel privilege elevation flaw. The high security flaw traced as CVE 2024-1086 was first disclosed on January 31st of this year as a use after free problem in the NetFilter.nf tables component and was introduced by a commit in February of 2014. NetFilter is a framework provided by the Linux kernel that allows various networking related operations like packet filtering, network address translations, and packet mangling. The vulnerability is caused because of a function that allows positive values to be used as a drop error within the hook verdict. It then executes a double free when NF drop is issued with a drop error that resembles NF accept. The issue was fixed with a commit submitted in January of this year, which rejects the queue and drop verdict parameters, thus preventing exploitation. There's a whole bunch of information in the show notes. Go check that out as well. The other one is the Checkpoint VPN devices. That's CVE 2024-249er19er. And that's following the vendor's disclosure and security update release. And now we know that there is an active exploit in the wild for that one. Docker Hub has suspended service in Russia. Russian users lost access to their Docker Hub repositories on Thursday of last week, couldn't access the service even through VPNs, according to Russian news website Kommersant. Developers use the cloud-based platform to store, share, and manage their container images, digital packages that include everything needed to run an application. Docker Hub stated in a message displayed to those trying to access the platform from Russia that it's blocking services in Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Sudan, Syria, and Russian annexed Crimea to adhere to U.S. export control rules. Russia itself wasn't included in the message. At the time of the publication, Docker hadn't responded to a request for commentary. Russian legal expert Maria Yudova told Kommersant that the blocking could be linked to the new proposed rule introduced by the Department of Commerce in January to protect cloud services from foreign cyber threats to national security. Those claims could not be verified at this time. So there's that. The email addresses and other information of hundreds of British, French, and European Parliament politicians could be found in dark web marketplaces, according to a privacy-focused solution provider Proton. As part of the study conducted by Proton in collaboration with Constella Intelligence, the dark web was searched for nearly 2,300 official government email addresses belonging to members of the British, French, and European Parliament. In total, 918 email addresses were leaked to cybercrime marketplaces, but the percentage of impacted politicians is different for each organizations. For instance, British MPs were the most impacted, with 68% of the targeted email addresses appearing on the dark web. In the case of the EU Parliament, only 44% had their email addresses posted on hacker forums, and only 18% of their deputies and senators had their emails exposed. Now, just a question here. Why is this a story? And that's the only reason I bring it up. If you're a government official, your email address should be publicly available, because guess what? You serve the public. I should be able to email you. So if they're in the dark web with a password, that's a different story. But just having them in the dark web does nothing. With a visit to the United States and his country's designation by the U.S. as a major non-NATO ally, Kenyan President William S. Ruto plans to accelerate the African nation's technological progress with boosting the training of cybersecurity specialists and hardening defenses against cyber attacks among the priorities. During a May 23rd meeting with President Biden, President Ruto committed to the framework for responsible state behavior in cyberspace, an existing agreement between European, North American, and Asian countries to follow specific norms in cyberspace. U.S. and Kenya leaders also agreed to share threat information between partners in the East Africa region and highlighted private industry collaboration, including a joint effort between the Kenyan government and Google to establish a cyber operations platform along with the e-government pilot project. The U.S. also committed to providing policy and regulatory advisory services to Kenya. Obviously, Africa being a pivotal nation, Kenya being a pivotal nation, and Africa being a pivotal continent, this helps bolster them as well. Cyber attacks that are targeting U.S. and allies having strategically consequential effects. NATO members agreed in 2014 that a significant cyber attack could be grounds to invoke Article 5. However, speaking at the International Conference on Cyber Conflict in Estonia, Cyber Command's Emily Goldman stressed that while this position might deter the kinds of catastrophic cyber attacks that could merit a kinetic response, it's not dealing with the majority of this malicious activity below armed conflict, which is becoming fairly routine. We have adversaries that recognize that they can impose losses upon us without going to war, without risking war, explained Goldman. Due to a perceived lack of risk, we should anticipate that this behavior is going to continue. Yep, that's pretty true. We can preclude that, we can disrupt, we can contest this behavior without escalating the armed conflict. But then again, we do that all the time and nothing changes. So it'd be out of time to change. I'm not saying we should go to war, but I'm saying there should be consequences to these types of attacks here. You can read the rest of the story. We're way over time here. You can read the rest of the story in the show notes. That's it for our show this morning. Go check out Nudge Security for your free 14-day trial. Please make sure to subscribe. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.